So when we try to share mystical insights or insights into the inner wisdom of the Torah, I think there's often this paradox between wanting to be humble and acknowledging that we cannot understand many things, that our understanding and our own wisdom is finite and limited. But on the other hand, that we have a very deep quest for truth, a very deep desire to know the truth, and that quest is valid. So that's a paradox, really, that we try to keep in mind, or I do when I'm sharing insights. And the insights that I wanted to share really came out of connections made due to the news stories and the world events that have taken place over the last 2 weeks. Firstly, the terrible tragedy of the return of the bodies of the 2 Bibas children, the red-haired children from Israel, and their mother as well. And also the statements by President Trump, who has been the leader of the free world, saying that he wishes to buy the rare earth of Rabbi Nahman's homeland, if we could call it that, because perhaps his homeland was elsewhere, but of the place indeed where he lived, Ukraine, and that was President Trump's bid to buy or to manage the precious minerals of that country. So as so often when we're trying to access wisdom that is on a different level to the kind of very logical level that we often operate within, then we make connections. And I was thinking about those red-haired children and the terrible sacrifice that they made, and I was thinking particularly of the colour of their hair, the redness, which was striking, and which many municipal buildings were lit up around Europe in that deep orange red colour to remember the children. And I guess I thought first of all of Reuben, who of course was Joseph's brother in the Bible, in the Torah, and Joseph's brother Reuben was the one who protested against Joseph being sold into slavery, against his sacrifice by the brothers. And the colour of Reuben, or indeed the colour that we believe represented the tribe of Reuben in the high priest's breastplate, the breastplate by which he found the way, God's paths of peace. There was the ruby colour, or the deep red, the deep orange reddish colour, Reuben, ruby. And also the name for that colour in Hebrew, I believe, is Odem. And the stone is also known as carnelian. And carnelian literally, contains the word for flesh. So we would say chili con carne. We eat chili con carne, meaning chili with meat. And so carnelian also references that meat, that flesh colour, the red. And that brought me round to thinking about the red heifer, and the ruddiness of King David when King Saul is afraid of, he's fearful of something other than God. And we could say that is really the cause of his downfall, that he is afraid of something other than God, and he wishes that to be appeased, and he therefore needs King David so that he's less frightened. And then, of course, there is, beyond the ruddiness of King David, when he stands before King Saul, he's brought before him as a shepherd boy. And there's also the ruddiness, the redness hinted at in the name of Adam, the first man, which literally means red. So all of that took me to the prophecy of Ezekiel in 36:26, where he hears the Lord say, I will give you a heart of flesh. So no longer the heart of stone, but I will give you a heart of flesh. And I think all of this is a teaching on finding our heart, finding the heart that is the heart of our courage, that is the heart that beats only in fear of God and of nothing else, And so there's no sacrifice needed. Another person doesn't need to be sacrificed so that we're appeasing something other than God. And we only feel fear of God in the true heart that we're given, as our soul. So that's where all of those thoughts took me, from the rare earth pledge, which of course leads me to remember all of Rabbi Nahman's stories about precious stones and about the diamonds, and how they mean so much more than material wealth, and how they mean so much more, how our heart means so much more than the beating physical heart in our body. It does mean that. It does mean our life on earth. It does mean our body of flesh here in this incarnation, in this world of action. But it means a heart that is our soul's heart. It means a heart that is beating for the truth that God asks us to bring, for the love that God asks us to bring to the world. And all of that bring me back to the prophecy of Ezekiel. I will give you a heart of flesh